Let's do this. Another great episode of the Wellness Farmer Podcast. Actually, the last episode of the Wellness Farmer Podcast in 2018. And what do we do here? Well, we focus on your health. I take what has become too complex and help you to simplify, focusing on where health is found inside of you. How do we empower ourselves to feel our best? With chiropractic care, eating nutrient-dense food grown on fertile soil without chemicals, adequate movement, and natural internal dialogue. On this podcast, I put emphasis on growing your own food and storing it using the permaculture and modern survivalism lifestyles. And on today's episode, episode 204, I explain what natural health is, and most importantly, how to reach it. The best part about it is that it is simple. All the hard part we don't even have to worry about. Our incredible ecosystems do all the hard work unconsciously. In other words, we don't even know it is happening. So enjoy, because this stuff is super important to your health and really to the health of all those that surround you. Today's December 20th, 2018, and I am Ben Page, your host. And a couple things before I get into the main content. All right, we're in that season. We're in the season of giving. So if you're going to buy any gifts through Amazon, make sure you do it through my webpage, Pastos Better This Farm. On the right-hand side, there's a button that says Amazon. Click on it. And by just clicking on that, every time you purchase from Amazon, you're actually helping me out. It's so simple. All you do is just type in my webpage instead of Amazon, and then click on the Amazon button, and then do whatever you're going to do, and that helps me out quite a bit. All right, so don't miss an episode. There's a couple ways to never miss an episode. One, subscribing to my email list, and if you do that, you not only get every episode, you also get every episode of my new series, Huerta Urbana, on YouTube. You get a couple chapters from my book, absolutely free, and a couple other articles, absolutely free, just by joining my email list. So there's many reasons to join my email list, and pick any one of those, and there you go. And since you get some of those chapters for free, well, that's a great time to talk about, well, if you like the book, The 4 Pillars of Health, then you can actually purchase the rest of the book at Amazon.com or my webpage, Pastos Better This Farm, where you will get the rest of that philosophy, which I'll be talking a little bit about today, that philosophy of natural health. There's ways you can connect with me. Instagram, BenPageDC, YouTube, Pastos Better This Farm, and also my webpage, pastosbetterthisfarm.com, where you can send me voice messages or an email or any of the above ways that people are getting in contact with people these days. But let's see, before I get into the main thing too, and there's a great way to help me out. If you're getting value out of this podcast and you want to give me some of that value back, go to pastosbetterthisfarm.com, click on that Patreon button on the right side and it'll take you to Patreon, and there it explains how you can actually bring me back just a little bit of value if you're getting value out of this podcast. A great way to do it. So I don't want you to just to donate to me. I want you, if you're getting value out of this podcast, if you get anything that's worth things to you and you want to bring some of that back to me, well, the best way to do it is through Patreon.com. And if you want to work with me one-on-one, I work with clients one-on-one through Skype. The first 15 minutes are for free. Go set up an appointment and talk to me so I can help you reach your health potential, something I'm going to be talking about again today. That's the beginning. Let's get into this main content. So natural health. What is it? Well, first, what is natural? So natural means existing in or caused by nature, not made or caused by humankind. And that's what health is. If we truly understood health, I wouldn't even have to use the word health while talking about health. By saying natural while talking about a topic in health, it would be understood that natural is a state where you're healthy. You're at your best. You're optimal. So let me explain a little bit. All health exists in or is caused by nature. You are part of nature. We are part of nature. That power beyond power that always wins. Yes, we as humans try to control it and win some of the battles, but nature will always win in the end, as it has showed. That is you. And if you want to heal or stay healthy, It has to be caused by or exist in nature, caused by or exist in you. You heal yourself. You feel your best because of you, because of what you have inside of you. Nothing, absolutely nothing outside of nature will heal you. Nothing made or caused by humankind will heal you. That's so important to understand. You heal yourself. So the question is, what do I have to do so I can be natural? What do I have to do to be naturally healthy? And the answer is very little. When man meddles with nature and messes things up, what happens when they leave? Nature begins the healing process. What happens after we leave a river that has been contaminated? The river over time will become pure again. What happens after we start a fire and it burns down a whole forest? Over time, the grasses return, then the shrubs, and eventually the trees that were there before grow into this huge canopy layer, and the forest returns. Yes, we as humans can speed up the natural healing process, but it is not necessary, and many times we just get in the way. There are ways, though, just like in nature. For example, if we use the tools found in the permaculture toolbox, we can, in a proper way, speed up the healing of the land that we as humans have made so sick. I'm not going to talk about today because that's a whole other episode. That's a whole other topic to dive into, because if the land is not healthy, we are not healthy, period. Well, let me know in the comment section if you would like me to expand on the importance of soil health in ways that we can actually heal our own soil so we can truly be healthy also. But today I want to briefly go over what we need to provide our bodies so they can reach optimum, or if needed, heal from unhealthy choices or habits. So first, what I focus on most, providing nutrient-dense food grown on fertile soil without chemicals. So the fuel we provide our bodies must be optimum if we want to be at our best. Most of what our bodies need come from eating, which comes from soil. Do you see how important the soil is? If you're eating anything that does not come from or somehow come from the soil, you are basically poisoning yourself. It's the slowest poison throughout your lifetime, but that's exactly what it is. So what you need to eat, you need to be eating vegetables and fruits grown in the soil, or animals that have eaten grass or other foods directly from the soil that is fertile and that has not been contaminated with chemicals. From the building blocks of life, the amino acids, to the fats that protect our nerves and our cells, and pretty much everything in between comes from nutrient-dense food that's grown on fertile soils without chemicals. That is why I focus so much on building fertile soil. The best way to get nutrient-dense food grown on fertile soils without chemicals is doing it yourself, growing some of your own food, even if it is just like 2%, like what I probably give my family. I probably grow about 2% of the food that we eat. That's it. So those who follow my Huerta Urbana YouTube series knows that that's what I have to work with. I can't complain because it is more than others, but then there's others that have a lot more than I have. But if you haven't checked out the YouTube series, go check it out. It's called Huerta Urbana. Hopefully it will motivate you a little to help you grow some of your own food, even if you think you don't even have any room, like me. So growing nutrient-dense food is also therapeutic in the way it calms us. Many have even said it can reach the same potential as meditation. It can put you in a state of meditation. It can help us heal our mind. And not only growing nutrient-dense food, but also cooking that nutrient-dense food. Cooking with what one grows can also be therapeutic. It can put us in that similar state of meditation. So the garden does not only provide us with the nutrients our bodies require, but it helps us stay in a mental state that is natural among so many other things that I'm not going to actually talk about today. But as you know, the garden to me is a wonderful place to heal. All right, so this takes us beautifully into the second point. We must talk to ourselves in a natural manner. I call it natural internal dialogue. Again, the word natural. Why? Because we are born with the natural tendency to be happy, to talk to ourselves in a way that builds instead of destroys. We can just look at any baby. There are really only 3 times in their life that they are not happy. When they're hungry, when they're lonely, or when they have a dirty diaper. So what happens when you feed a baby, give it a little love, or clean the diaper? They return to being happy. They are naturally happy, and we are also. Life is kind of just beats it out of us. And that's unfortunate, but it happens. Most of us believe that happiness is somehow found. It is something we search for during life. If we change our belief system, our paradigm from the belief system that happiness is found or gained through things or experiences to a belief system that it is right where it always was, inside of us, we start to see us return to who we naturally are inside, happy about life. So those who listen know that this is where I have the most trouble, remembering who I am, talking to myself in that natural way. It's not that I don't understand where happiness is found, it is that people in life has really beaten it out of me sometimes. It is something that we have to be constant in. If we aren't, we lose it. It will begin to atrophy. We need to look at the internal struggle the same way we do the physical. If we want to be more physically strong, there is a process that we go through that takes time. We don't go from weak to strong in one day. We have to work the muscles to build the muscle, and then after that to keep them strong. It is something that must be done every day. The mental state is the exact same way. If we don't constantly build and maintain it, the same thing happens. It begins to atrophy. And that might make you think, well, that doesn't sound right. That sounds like too much work. Well, first of all good things come from work, and great things come from hard work. And secondly, as you do it, you will realize that it is hard, but also great fun and very satisfying to see yourself develop into the best you. So as we begin to live a lifestyle that builds a strong internal environment that can withstand the storms of life, that brings us to the third piece of the puzzle, because they go hand in hand. We also need to live a lifestyle that builds us up physically. When we feel down, when we are not talking to ourselves naturally, one of the fastest ways to overcome that feeling down or get rid of those unnatural thoughts is to move adequately. So adequate movement is the third piece. Movement has two parts, the action and inaction. First, the action. We are animals, of course, animals with reason, which sometimes, I can almost say many times, don't use it correctly, but this again is a whole other topic that require movement. So movement stimulates us. It has actually been said that 90% of the stimulation and nutrition to the brain is generated from movement of the spine. I mean, right there, that should wake us up about the importance of movement. If we don't move, we are moving toward loss of health. If we move toward health. There's no middle ground. We are either moving backward to loss of health or forward towards health. So if we want to be strong physically, and I'm not talking about being crazy ripped or a bodybuilder, I'm talking about having the physical strength and the physical energy to finish well all the activities we must each and every day. And we must do that by putting weight against our bones and our muscles on a regular basis. So for most in this unhealthy world, that would be living in this unhealthy world, that would be rigorous movement for at least 5 days a week between 40 and 60 minutes. Yep, I said 60 minutes. So if you're living a sedentary lifestyle, or in other words, if you are sitting or standing, again, I say standing because it's crazy how many people think that standing at the desk changes. I mean, it doesn't change much your posture either. Standing at a desk throughout the day, you need rigorous exercise. And what is rigorous exercise? Well, using breathing as a metric, you should get to the point of breathing hard during the movement, and also when you finish, you should be breathing hard. So movement is movement. That is what is so neat about it. There's pretty much endless ways to move. The most important is to change it up. Don't do the same for too long at a time. We should always be changing things up to kind of shock those muscles. Now the other side, inaction. Yep, we also must rest. We should be getting between 7.5 to 9 hours of sleep every night. The reason I say 7.5 to 9 is because each cycle of sleep is about 90 minutes. So between 7.5 to 9 hours of sleep every night. That gives us between 16.5 and 15 hours to get everything we need to get done during the day. And that is enough. We can treat ourselves good during the day with that amount of time. If you think you can't, then you must prioritize what is most important. Your health should be very high on that list, if not number one, because without it, everything else becomes difficult, basically flat out impossible. So rest is where we rebuild, we heal, we recuperate, maintain, and we clean. Everything we do during the day, to be naturally healthy has little effect if we are not resting and letting our bodies assimilate all that goodness we give it during the day. So adequate movement is no good if we are not getting adequate rest. We need both. And finally, to put it all together, stress reduction, which includes proper motion of spinal joints and proper posture. In other words, the help of a professional that will be the guide through education that helps the person make their own decisions to achieve natural health. Hopefully, we can find that guide in a chiropractic physician. Most people think of stress in the context of emotional stress, but there are many forms of stress. There's toxic stress, like the constant bombardment of lights at night and noise in the city environment, to the products some of us call food that we put into our mouths. These are all toxic stresses. We then have toxic thoughts that also stress us. Then there are physical stresses, like a car accident stressing in a macro level our tissues to can be the breaking of bones. However, the majority of people won't experience macro trauma, like a car accident, in their life. But everybody, including me and you listening, will experience micro trauma, like the sedentary lifestyle and improper posture. For example, having anterior head carriage, which is just our head tilted forward, sometimes slightly, and others not so much. I've seen some people with some major anterior head carriage. So the physical stress, like all the other types of stress, activate the stress response, which now we all know, because it is now mainstream, does us harm in the long run. The majority of people leave a doctor's office with a prescription of medication, another toxin unfortunately, and the counsel to lower stress levels. We know how important it is to lower stress levels. And that is in all types of stress. So before I go on, I just must state the importance of short-lived stress in our development and our health. To reach our health potential, we must put ourselves in stressful positions. However, the most important point is they need to be short-lived. For example, standing in front of a crowd giving a speech. Those moments are actually good for us. They help us develop ourselves, become the best we can become. That is actually called eustress. And we need that in our life. But again, I say again that it needs to be for short periods. So now back to what we need to try to avoid. Because of the modern day sedentary lifestyle and the majority of modern conveniences like couches and cars and TVs, computers and cell phones, we are constantly putting our spines into an improper posture, causing this micro stress and lack of motion of the joints. You remember, as I talked about earlier, 90% of the stimulation and nutrition to the brain is created by the movement of the spine. So how do we renew the movement so necessary, lost through this modern prolonged stress to our joints? Supplying the stimulation and nutrition our brains need to help us be naturally healthy, a good chiropractic physician. And it isn't just for that, of course. That is important. It's very important, but also to be a guide in your journey to natural health. That's what we're looking for. We're looking for that guide to help us get there. So this is just the tip of the iceberg. So now you know how simple health is. And I say simple because it is 4 concepts that are simple in their totality. The hard part is all done at the subconscious level. We have no idea it is even happening. However, I didn't say easy, especially in today's society of putting health on the back burner until you have a very costly emergency. So I go further into detail on each of these subjects in my book, The 4 Pillars of Health. If you haven't got your copy yet, now is the time. We are in the beautiful season of giving. Give yourself the most important gift, the gift of health. And for those that are going to give a gift, And for those of you giving gifts to others, what is better than the gift of long-lasting health? Purchase them the 4 pillars of health where they can get that information. This show is the perfect show to share because it's an episode where I explain where health is truly found. Of course, I don't go into great detail, but I help you understand where you can actually focus the majority of your time when you're looking to become healthy. So I hope you like this episode. Share this episode. Take a picture of your screen right now, listening to this episode, and share it on Instagram and tag me, at BenPageDC, and I will share it on my Instagram. And if you'd like to give me a gift, I would appreciate a couple minutes of your time to go to iTunes and rate and review this podcast. Thanks a ton for what you guys done and what you have done and what you guys are doing. Also, something to look forward to. Coming in 2019, I'm very stoked about this, is courses to actually complement these 4 concepts that I just got finished talking about. So, you not only have the knowledge to make your own decisions about proper belief systems through the book, but you're going to actually have a way to implement them into your lives. It's going to be awesome, and I can't wait till it all starts to come around. 2019 is going to be awesome. Before I go, I just want to say thank you. You guys are truly awesome. This will be the last time I will be on the mic this year. This year was full of changes, and I believe we are on the right track. Next year is going to be just great. So let's live our lives just a little better, one episode at a time. Merry Christmas, and I'll see you next year.